Today we're gonna be reacting to um um his stories. I've watched like a couple of his videos. They're actually so fun. I mean, yeah, entertaining. So we're gonna react to him. So yeah, let's go. Hold on. This is good enough, I think. Can you guys hear me? Okay, let's start. Let's go! So first, we're just gonna go in order. We're gonna start with it.
The skydiving plane was 13,000 feet in the air when suddenly the engine caught on fire.
Hold up, before we start, grab a snack, and now we begin.
I scrambled up off the floor, my chute dragging behind me in a tangle, and the GoPro on my forehead was still streaming. I looked down at my phone where I had my mom on FaceTime. My hands were trembling because this jump was to raise $40,000 for her cancer treatment. When you jump, keep your eyes on the handle, Eli. You never pull what you can't see. My mom had 800 jumps before the cancer grounded her, and her voice came through the speakers steadier than anyone on that burning plane. I love you, son. I smiled at her and pretended like everything was fine. I'll be jumping soon. Bye, Mom. See you on the other side. The floor tilted as the last jumpers bailed out the door, and the instructor grabbed my shoulder, screaming over the engine. Your parachute is wrecked. The second you're out, rip it off before you open the emergency chute, or it'll strangle you. You get one shot to land safely. You can't afford to screw this up. The plane jolted sideways, and I knew I had to make a decision. I put my toes right by the door and gripped the metal bar with my eyes clenched tight. 3, 2, 1. I jumped, and the sky flipped over me, and I yanked the release and felt my ruined chute rip free. I reached my right hand back to pull the emergency chute handle, but I couldn't. The fall was so powerful that I couldn't move. There was only 13,000 feet between me and the ground, and I had to act fast, otherwise I'd end up as minced meat on the sidewalk. I grabbed blind for the handle and caught nothing but my own suit, spinning, and past the panic I heard her, calmer than the wind. Eyes on the handle, Eli. I forced my chin down, found the silver handle against my ribs, and pulled. The backup parachute cracked open and yanked me upright, and I slammed down into a farm field hard enough to snap my ankle. I took off the GoPro and spoke directly to it. I'm here, Mom. I'm okay. When I limped into her room the next day, she pulled me down by the collar, pressed her forehead to mine, and whispered, "You jumped." She had saved my life from a chemo chair while I was falling out of the sky trying to save hers. The skydiving plane was 13,000 feet in the air when suddenly the engine caught on fire. I scrambled up off the floor, my chute dragging. I swung my putter at the neon blue golf ball and watched it drop cleanly into the hole, and Kevin's whole birthday party went quiet. That was my 5th hole-in-one in a row. Kevin walked over chewing a skewer of steak that had no business being at a cheap putt-putt course. "These are the baby holes. Do it at the windmill and I'll buy you lunch for the rest of the year." He circled me like he owned the place. "You're only here because..."
Rest of the year? Like at school or like? That's probably like $500 or something.
My mom made me invite the whole class. I shrugged. "I'm only here for the free food anyway." He pointed his putter at a chef in a white coat searing scallops by the snack bar. "Chef Marcel makes my lunch every day. Sink the windmill and I'll pay him to make yours as well. All year, miss. And you keep packing that sad little bag." 2 of his friends snickered and trailed us to the windmill. I lined up and swung. The ball drifted across the green and stopped 2 inches short of the cup, right in front of the windmill. I could already see myself packing the same flat peanut butter sandwich every morning for another whole year. Kevin grinned. "Hope you enjoy packing your own lunch the rest of the year." He set up his bright yellow ball, barely looking at it. "My uncle owns this course. I've made this shot 1,000 times." He putted, and before the ball was even halfway there, he jumped up and pumped both fists. "That's how it's done." He landed so hard the whole windmill creaked and shifted, just enough to tap my ball forward. Every head turned to watch it crawl the last 2 inches. Then it dropped. His own fist pump had knocked my ball in. A second later, his bright yellow ball reached the hole, bounced off my blue one, and rolled back out onto the green. The whole party erupted. Kevin stood frozen with his fists still in the air. His own chef walked right past him and handed me the lunch container, still warm. I took it and turned to Kevin. "Hope you enjoy paying for my lunch the rest of the year." I swung my putter at the neon blue golf.
That's crazy. I don't think these stories are real, but they're entertaining at least.
Mira esto.
Nope.
My best friend got his head in a metal armchair, and the only way out
Whoa. How do you get your your head stuck in a metal armchair and your head can't fit?
and death. He always had an irrational fear of Vaseline, so naturally, I brought a tub everywhere we went. We were at the hospital waiting for his 3 p.m. appointment. When I pulled out my tub of Vaseline, he literally ran to the other side of the room. But with 30 minutes left until the appointment, I decided to stick my head through the gap in the armchair to pass the time. But when I tried to take it out, I realized I couldn't. My head was stuck. Suddenly, my friend pointed at me and laughed. "You're the dumbest person alive." He took photos of me and said, "That's what you get for bringing Vaseline." I told him to shut up and help me, but he smiled and said, "No, but what I will do is show you how to not get stuck." He stuck his head through the other armchair gap successfully, but when he tried to take his head back out, he realized he was also stuck. Both of our heads were caught in the armchairs, and the waiting room was empty. My friend screamed, "My appointment is in 10 minutes, and wiggled his head hard against the metal, staying stuck and bruising himself in the process. That's when I remembered my Vaseline. I lathered my face in it, making it slippery, and pulled my head out easily. I told my friend, "Your turn," but his eyes went wide and he said, "I'd rather die." He kept struggling until finally, at 2:58, he looked at me with red eyes and a clenched jaw. "Do it." I pulled out the Vaseline and started smearing it all over his face and neck. He screamed and cried the whole time, and that's when the doctor stepped out of his office. He saw me rubbing Vaseline all over his patient's head, which was currently stuck in the armchair. From that day forward, I carried 2 tubs. My best friend got his head in a metal armchair, and the only way out meant death. He always had an irrational fear of Vaseline. Please be careful. My dad can be very intense. My girlfriend gripped my shoulder as we rang the doorbell. This was 1971, and I had no idea how.
How is he a different color in this one?
My best friend got his head in a metal armchair, and the only way out meant.
I think they're fake.
Please be careful. My dad can be very intense. My girlfriend gripped my shoulder as we rang the doorbell. This was 1971, and I had no idea how
1971? That was like 200 years ago.
her dad would react seeing his daughter with a black guy. His face was unreadable, and when I went to shake his hand, he ignored me and told us to come in. I felt sweat beating down my forehead as we sat, and he looked at me like if I made one wrong move, he'd use the pistol at his hip. "Sir, it's nice to be quiet," he interrupted me and leaned forward. "Susie, does he make you happy?" Her legs shook as she took my hand. "Yes, Dad. I want to marry him." I felt my heart skip a beat, but his eyes stayed locked on me. He set his drink down. "If my daughter's happy, then I'm happy." He walked away. My legs shook. "You really want to marry me?" Susie nodded through happy tears, but then glass smashed behind us. 2 men dressed in slacks and USA shirts pointed at me. "So you're the darky who wants to weasel his way into our town." They held up their knives. "This town is for white folk." Susie shot up. "Please no. I love him." But their eyes turned darker and they smiled at her. "Well then you can die too, darky lover." They walked forward and I stepped in front of Susie to protect her. I felt her trembling behind me, and as the men got closer, I looked around for something to grab. They got closer and my heart pounded in fear. But then Susie's dad stepped in front of me. "You're not touching them." He wasn't even shaking. The men laughed. "Daryl, really? We used to drink together. Now you're defending their kind?" He pointed at me, but the dad didn't move. I said, "You're not touching them." Their faces twisted. "Then I guess you'll die too." They lunged with their knives, and I instantly wrapped Susie in my arms to protect her. But her dad drew his pistol. The shots hit their kneecaps, and they dropped to the floor screaming and bleeding. I was still hyperventilating, holding Susie as she sobbed. Her dad gripped my shoulder. "I'm sorry for being so cold to you earlier, son. I judged you, and I was wrong. But you stepped in front of my daughter to save her. You're a man I'd be proud to call family. I know this is a lot to ask, but can you please forgive me?" He reached out his hand. I shook it. "Please be careful. My dad can be very intense." My girlfriend gripped my shoulder as we rang the doorbell. This was 1971, and I had no idea how her dad would react seeing his daughter with a black guy. His face was unreadable, and when I went to shake his hand, he ignored me.
Jane runs a
Respect
camp,
everyone, by the way.
and you know
I grabbed the fruit
Doesn't
cup
matter
and
what
went to
color
stick
they
my
are
fork
or
into the
what.
strawberry, but my sister Emily slapped it out of my hand. "I want that fruit cup." I pointed to the 5 others in the fridge, but she grabbed it with both hands. "No, I need this one." I yanked it back, and Emily immediately pulled out her phone, panicking. "Look at how aesthetic my Instagram is. I want to post a picture on a walk eating a fruit cup, and that one has the perfect strawberry to kiwi ratio to color match my outfit." I looked at her like she had 5
That's why. There's 0.
heads. "Well, this strawberry perfectly matches my taste buds." I put one in my mouth, and she instantly lunged at me. I bolted out the back door holding the fruit cup over my head, but she tackled me, and we both hit the dirt. I scrambled up and grabbed the fruit cup. I grabbed the fruit cup and went to stick my fork into the strawberry, but my sister Emily slapped it out
Sorry
of my
for
hand.
being
I want
muted.
that fruit cup. I pointed to the 5 others in the fridge, but she grabbed it with both hands. No, I need this one. I yanked it back, and Emily immediately pulled out her phone, panicking. Look at how aesthetic my Instagram is. I want to post a picture on a walk eating a fruit cup, and that one has the perfect strawberry to kiwi ratio to color match my outfit. I looked at her like she had 5 heads. Well, this strawberry perfectly matches my taste buds. I put one in my mouth, and she instantly lunged at me. I bolted out the back door holding the fruit cup over my head, but she
Hold up. What is that walk? I'm just saying. Look at this. Hold on. Let me take out this. Hold up. Bro, this was literally the walk. That was literally the walk, was it not? It was like... That's crazy. Bye. Okay, back to the video.
tackled me, and we both hit the dirt. I scrambled up and grabbed the fruit cup that had landed upright as she reached for it and ran into the bathroom. I locked the door and laughed. Time to enjoy my fruit cup, but then the handle started moving. My face dropped in horror as I realized Emily was lockpicking it. I opened the window that led onto our roof and figured I'd just enjoy my fruit cup while watching the sunset. Surely Emily wouldn't climb onto the roof, but as I got to the top, I saw her coming through the window. Her eyes were manic. I need my aesthetic Instagram post. She tackled me on the roof, and the cup fell from my hands. We both began sliding down the slope of the roof. I grabbed the edge, but Emily grabbed the fruit cup instead. Her smile disappeared as she fell into the bushes below. The entire fruit cup splashed onto her clothes. She stood up covered in syrup and crushed strawberries. Kiwi stuck in her hair as she sobbed. She got the perfect strawberry to kiwi ratio after all, just all over the outfit. I jumped down and grabbed a fruit cup from the fridge. Wait, Emily, these are all the same. She stood there with her mouth agape. I grabbed the fruit cup and went to stick my fork into the strawberry, but my sister Emily slapped it out of...
Wait, a sister is crazy though.
Mom, guess what?
This is how I made this hoodie.
I came.
Oh, I'm on.
So if I do not find somebody,
What am I watching? Bottle body suit. I blow up and
I whispered to a dead calculator during an exam, an accident...
Okay, we're on. Oh, we didn't watch this one.
Marvin dropped out of his chair, clutching his throat, and our detention teacher told the rest of us to stay in our seats. Marvin was on the floor, kicking and gasping. A few minutes earlier, I was drinking the gross green shake Mom packed me when I saw Marvin trade his apple for Nikita's granola bar. One bite later, he was on the ground. Mr. Halpert still hadn't looked up from his laptop. We had to help him, or he was going to die in Saturday detention. Nikita was already out of her seat. Sir, he's having a reaction. I have my EpiPen in my locker. I'm gonna go grab it. Halpert slammed his hand on the desk so hard the laptop jumped. Sit down. I doubt his
No.
mommy would pack him something he's allergic to. Nikita dropped back into her chair with her eyes still on Marvin.
Nope,
Marvin
I'm
was
punching
wheezing
the
on the
teacher.
floor between us.
No,
His
Ma,
face
I'm
was going
joking.
red and his
I would-
eyes were huge.
I
My
would
heart
go.
was
I
slamming
don't
in my
care.
chest.
I would
Mr.
go
Halpert,
anyways.
I really think Marvin's dying. Shut it. I've seen you in detention more than in class. One more word, and you're joining me every Saturday for the rest of the semester. He turned back to his laptop and kept typing.
No, I'm going.
Marvin's lips were going blue.
Too late.
I grabbed a napkin from my lunch bag and wrote, "Where's the EpiPen?" I flicked it at Nikita. She wrote back my locker and slid it across the floor past Marvin's elbow. Marvin's eyes locked on mine like he was about to die under a desk in Saturday detention, and my whole body went cold. I grabbed my sports bottle of green shake and stood up. Halpert's head snapped up. "What are you doing?" I squeezed the bottle as hard as I could and
Oh,
emptied
yeah.
half a quart of green sludge straight onto his head. Then I made the loudest puking sound I've ever made and dumped the rest down his shirt. I bolted before he could wipe his eyes. Nikita took off the other way toward the lockers. Halpert decided to chase chase after me. He came tearing down the hallway, dripping green, screaming about lawyers and getting me kicked out. By lap 2 around the
Lawyers?
school, I could hear sirens. He stopped chasing me when the ambulance pulled into the parking lot. 2 EMTs were rolling Marvin out on a stretcher with an oxygen mask strapped to his face. Halpert grabbed his own hair. What happened? Nikita walked around the
What do you
stretcher
mean,
and
what
jabbed her
happened?
finger at his chest. You almost killed him. You wouldn't even look up. 2 cops were on him before he could explain. He tried to talk his way out of it, kept stumbling on his words, kept turning his head toward me. When they pulled his arms behind his back, he locked eyes with me one last time. I lifted what was left of my shake, took a long sip. Mom's recipe might be gross, but I guess it sure is helpful. Marvin dropped out of his chair, clutching his
helpful.
throat, and our detention. The skydiving plane
Oh,
was
we already watched this.
13,000 feet in the air when suddenly the engine. I whispered to a dead calculator during an exam.
What were we on? This? Oh, this one.
I felt my pants split open from the zipper all the way up the back, 10 minutes before my class president's speech to the entire school. I froze in the hallway behind the
that's the
gym with
worst
my back
possible
pocket
thing
flapping
ever.
against my leg and half my butt hanging out. 400 kids were packed in the gym waiting on the candidates, and I'd been practicing this speech for 2 weeks. My friend Grayson stood next to me scrolling his phone like nothing was happening. I grabbed his arm and spun around. If I walked out there like this, the election was over, and I'd be the kid who flashed the entire school. Look, he looked, then laughed so hard he had to sit down on the floor. Stop laughing and help me. I'm on in 10 minutes. He still had his gym bag from earlier, so we dug through it. He pulled out a roll of athletic tape and a clean pair of basketball shorts. Put the shorts on under your pants, then tape the rip shut from the inside. I went into the bathroom and did exactly that. One layer of tape over another until it held when I tugged on it. I walked back and forth in front of the mirror to test it. You can't tell, right? I asked. You can't tell. Just don't bend over. That's not the part I'm worried about. What do you mean? I have to walk up 4 steps and turn around and face everybody. He went quiet. The tape pulled tight every time I lifted my leg. The principal called my name. I went up the 4 steps, slow and stiff, keeping my legs close together so the tape wouldn't snap. I got behind the podium and the whole bottom half of me disappeared behind it. Nobody could see anything. I gave my entire speech, every line I'd practiced, and people actually clapped at the end. Then the principal walked over and shook my hand. Come stand up front for a photo, he said. I stepped out from behind the podium with both hands holding the back of my pants, like I was just resting them there. After the principal took the photo, I turned to head back to my seat and heard the tape snap. My pants dropped to the floor and everyone could see Grayson's basketball shorts underneath. The gym erupted in laughter. I won the election anyway. I felt my pants split
That's
open
not
from the zipper
that
all the
bad.
way
I
up the
mean,
back, 10 minutes before my class president's speech.
Yeah,
6 of us were holding hands around a Ouija board in Kayla's basement when her golden retriever pushed the door open and we all started screaming like we were being murdered. We'd been down there an hour trying to summon her dead great uncle, taking turns sliding the little pointer across the board, while 2 candles Kayla swiped from her mom's bathroom flickered on the carpet. Kayla kept glancing at the stairs and whispering, "If my mom sees her candles down here, I'm dead." Brandon kept saying we needed to do it right, or the ghost would get mad, so we held hands and chanted the name over and over. An hour in, my foot was asleep and
What
nothing had
name?
moved. Megan whispered,
what name? The boom, 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 boom. Hold on, I'll show you. That name? Or yeah, what am I doing?
maybe ghosts aren't real. And that's when the door creaked. Brandon's eyes got huge and he yelled, "He's here! He's actually here!" Megan, who 10 seconds ago didn't believe in ghosts, shrieked and yanked her hands out of the circle, knocking a candle straight onto the rug. The corner lit up fast. I tried to stomp it out, but my foot was still dead asleep, so I went down sideways on top of Jordan, who was already crawling for the stairs screaming for Kayla's mom. The smoke alarm started going off. Everyone screamed louder, and Brandon was sobbing. "It's trying to kill us." I grabbed a couch cushion and beat the fire out on my knees, and that's
said
when
it's trying to kill us. Ah, you never learn.
something warm and furry pressed into my back, breathing right behind my ear. I screamed the loudest scream of my entire life and threw my elbow
Poor
back as hard
dog.
as I could. The dog yelped and snatched the pointer off the board in his teeth right as Kayla's mom came pounding down the stairs in her robe, yelling, "What is happening down here?" She flipped the lights on, and there was Cooper, the golden retriever, sitting in the middle of the burnt rug with the pointer in his mouth, wagging his tail like he'd won something. Her eyes went from the candles to the rug, to the dog, to the six of us pressed against the wall, and she said, "You guys were scared of Cooper?" Brandon was still hiccuping when he pointed at the board and said, "The pointer flew across the room on its own." I didn't correct him, and neither did anybody else. 6 of us were holding hands around a Ouija board in Kayla's base.
Introducing Subway's
whatever you
new
think.
fresh value menu. 15 different protein pack choices, all for
You guys
under
believe in ghosts?
$5. With
Say it
new
in
6
the
Our professor caught Freddy
Comments.
hitting his vape in class and snatched it. You can't have that. Freddy waited until she turned around, dug it out of the trash, and blew the smoke right in her face. He got suspended for a week, but he didn't care, because if you told Freddy he couldn't have something, he made sure he got it. When Freddy came back from suspension, the first thing he noticed was the dean's golden whistle. What is that? The dean held it up proudly. This was a gift from the chancellor. You can't have this. Freddy looked at me. I shook my head, because the dean had no clue the animal he'd just released. The next morning, Freddy bumped into the dean in the hallway, and his hand brushed the whistle. The dean smacked his hand away. Hey, don't touch! Freddy put his hands up. I tripped. The next day, Freddy got himself sent to the dean's office just to get near the whistle. The dean had it sitting on his desk. Freddy lunged for it, but the dean grabbed it first and clipped it back around his neck. Boy, don't even try it. The chancellor is visiting today. I don't need you acting a fool. But Freddy lost all his patience, snatched the whistle clean off his neck, and took off sprinting. The dean ran after him. That's my whistle! Give it back! They flew through the hallway until Freddy slammed through the front doors into the parking lot. He saw a student with headphones step into the street as a car came flying toward him. Freddy blew the whistle. The student froze, and the car missed him by inches. The dean caught up and snatched the whistle back. Give me that! Then a voice came from behind them. I saw what just happened. The chancellor. He took the whistle from the dean and put it around Freddy's neck. You saved a life today. You deserve to keep this whistle. The next day, Freddy walked into class, and our professor saw the whistle. He smirked. You can't have that. Our professor caught Freddy hitting his vape in class. I faked being sick 100 times to get out of school, and the 101st saved my life. I told Mom I had a stomachache, and she let me stay home. 2 hours later, she walked in from work early and found me on the couch eating chips, 3 episodes deep into a show. She snatched my phone off the cushion and slammed it on the kitchen counter. Grounded, I nodded the way I always did, because she'd yell, I'd nod, and by dinner, she'd forget. She pointed in my face. One of these days, something is actually going to happen to you, and I'm not going to believe a word of it. Remember that. She started pacing the length of the kitchen, ticking lies off on her fingers. The dentist appointment last spring. She grabbed the lamp off the side table and pressed it to her own forehead. You held this to your face to fake a fever. She slammed it back down while I sank deeper into the couch. The math test in October. You swore you were sick. Then the school called asking why you missed the makeup test. I was going Friday, I said, but she was already shaking her head. You were going to skip it. She crossed the room and yanked the chip bag out of my hands, holding it up between us. And now this. 11 in the morning, already on the couch. You didn't even try this time. She dropped the bag back in my lap, and I shrugged. Wrong move. She went still, both hands flat on the counter. I am done. I cannot believe a single word that comes out of your mouth anymore. Not one. The phone buzzed on the counter. She picked it up, and the color drained from her face. What? She turned the screen toward me, and it was an emergency alert. A car had plowed through a classroom wall during third period. Every injury in room 14. Room 14 was my classroom. If I hadn't faked sick this morning, I'd have been in that seat. Mom slowly sat down on the couch beside me. So, am I still grounded? She didn't answer. She just pulled me against her and held the back of my head like she was checking I was still there.
kid.
I faked being sick 100
Hope you
times
guys
to
all
get out of
enjoyed.
school, and the 101st
peace.
saved my life. I told